we've got so much to talk about today. From some quite exciting and incredibly weird news about what's coming next to Modern Warfare Zombies. Yes, there is going to be something coming next, but it's maybe a little bit different to what you might expect, to the terrible layoffs that have affected Microsoft companies, including Activision and the studios that work on Call of Duty. In this video, we're going to talk about all of that, and you've got some gameplay from one of the best games of Warzone I've played in a long time. The sponsor of today's video is Holy. Holy are a drinks company that wanted to make soft drinks healthy. They've got a range of energy drinks, but they also have iced teas that have no added sugar or caffeine, and just some hydrating isotonic drinks with minerals that don't have any sugar or caffeine in. They taste great. They've sent me a bunch to try. I've been really enjoying them on streams across the last week, and you can get your own by following the link in the description below and using the code Geeky5 to get £5 off your first order. So, Call of Duty. Let's start with some good news to kick off this video on kind of a positive note. Modern Warfare Zombies is not ending. Last week I did a video where I said it seems super strange what's going on with Modern Warfare Zombies. I thought maybe the whole thing was over, maybe it was getting cancelled, because Treyarch had put a tweet out saying it has been a blast. They were talking in the past tense, saying Modern Warfare Zombies has been a blast, and they were putting a load of items into our inventories to kind of say goodbye, it seemed like. So I took that to mean, along with the lack of content in Season 1 Reloaded and the fact that they weren't a part of the boys event that's going on at the moment, that maybe MWZ was just over, that it hadn't been successful and they'd decided to can it. But then somebody else posted a tweet which completely threw all of that into question. Cloak and Kill, a Twitter user who is also a developer on Call of Duty games, posted, "Just wanted to say we are cooking for Season 2 MWZ content." And that's super exciting, because that basically, as far as I'm concerned, confirms that we are getting Zombies content for Season 2. But the really weird thing is, Cloak and Kill doesn't work at Treyarch. They work at Infinity Ward. Now, people who have been following Call of Duty over the last few years will know that Call of Duty is worked on by loads of different studios, and they all kind of have their own areas of expertise, their own kind of products within Call of Duty, but then sometimes they help each other out with other things. Now, as far as we knew, Infinity Ward had worked on Modern Warfare 2, so last year's game, and then because they'd worked on that, they'd also worked on Warzone 2, they'd worked on DMZ, that was entirely Infinity Ward's thing. Raven had literally nothing to do with that, which came as a surprise to me. They'd done the raids and they'd done Spec Ops, and obviously they'd done multiplayer for Modern Warfare 2. And then in that game, Treyarch had actually worked on the ranked multiplayer, but nothing else. Then with this year's Call of Duty, Sledgehammer had actually been working on Modern Warfare 3, so the campaign and the multiplayer. Treyarch had continued to work on ranked multiplayer. Raven had taken over on Warzone, so they now run Warzone completely. And as far as I knew, Treyarch were the only ones working on MWZ, or Modern Warfare Zombies. It seemed to be a Treyarch thing, and obviously they're the people who normally work on zombies. They'd also done Vanguard Zombies mode, which was kind of terrible. But anyway, I thought MWZ was just a Treyarch thing. That seemed a little bit weird when MWZ first launched, because as soon as it launched, lots of people noticed that it was basically like DMZ. There were lots and lots of similarities to DMZ, to the point where in some of the loading screens, I think it was Westy or Stod that noticed, it actually said DMZ beta in the top left of the screen when you were loading into the game. So it looked like it was maybe running on some code that was somehow connected to DMZ. So that seems strange, because Infinity Ward made DMZ, as far as I can tell, without any of the other studios helping out on it, and Treyarch were supposedly making this Zombies mode. So, for an Infinity Ward developer to be the one saying that they were working on exciting content for Modern Warfare Zombies, that's kind of made me question a few things. Like, I don't really understand what's happening. But here are what I think are the possibilities. One is that Infinity Ward and Treyarch have been working together on this since the beginning. That wouldn't be that surprising. Obviously, Infinity Ward developers would have learned some stuff working on DMZ, and then they could be helping Treyarch to sort of develop MWZ using DMZ as a base, and they're all working together. That makes perfect sense, in which case Season 2 is coming, there's new content, and nothing is changing. If that is the case, it kind of makes sense that when they were doing the advertising for Modern Warfare 3, they would just say that MWZ was Treyarch's thing, because people identify Treyarch with the Zombies franchise, and, you know, they want more zombie stuff from Treyarch, so it makes sense to say that they're in charge of it. And I definitely know Treyarch were a big part of MWZ, because at COD Next, the person who came out to talk to us was from Treyarch. Like, it was presented entirely as a Treyarch thing. So another possibility, which makes a bit more sense with that tweet Treyarch put out, is that Treyarch are no longer working on MWZ. And I think this is entirely possible, that maybe they set up MWZ in the same way that Infinity Ward set up Warzone 2, then handed it off to Raven. Maybe Treyarch set up MWZ and are now handing it off to Infinity Ward. Maybe the team who were previously working on DMZ, because that doesn't seem to be getting content anymore, maybe they're now ready to start working on MWZ and they're going to take it off Treyarch, while the rest of Treyarch carry on working with their new game that's going to be coming out later this year, which I assume will have a fully fledged zombies mode in it. And potentially, you know, it might have something like MWZ, maybe the next steps of it, maybe we'll have Outbreak 2, or maybe it'll just be round-based, who knows. I was told at COD Next that Treyarch are a very small studio. Like, when they invited a few people to go see Zombies at COD Next, they really didn't take many creators at all. I think maybe like 15 to 20 people went down to Treyarch, and part of the reasoning given for not showing all of us Zombies was that it's just a small studio, they don't have a huge amount of space there, it's much easier to manage if they just select a small group to do it with. Now, if this is true, that Treyarch have now dropped MWZ, that does explain the tweet as to why Treyarch said it has been a blast and then never clarified what they meant by that. And it explains why an Infinity Ward developer is now saying they're working on Season 2 MWZ content. And it also means there's going to be some interesting stuff to come in Season 2 because we're going to have an entirely different development team working on it. If you think about the massive differences in Warzone between when Infinity Ward were working on it last year with Warzone 2 and then when Raven took over a few months ago, and how the game has changed fairly rapidly, you know, we have a brand new map, we have new mechanics, new approaches to different things. I wouldn't be surprised if Infinity Ward take on MWZ and maybe lead it in a sort of slightly different direction. Maybe they focus on slightly different things. Maybe we'll end up getting some of the things that we ended up getting from DMZ into MWZ. And I've seen lots of comments from people saying that's what they want to happen, that they want things like, you know, those upgrade challenges. Maybe they want there to be kind of more missions, a sort of wider spread of factions, something like that. It'd be really interesting if they did change things up and maybe try and focus on making MWZ a little bit more replayable. So yeah, until next week, I think that's all we know about MWZ right now, that there is going to be some content for Season 2. It seems to be being worked on by Infinity Ward. We don't know if Treyarch are still involved or not, and we don't know whether it's just going to be Infinity Ward, or maybe it'll be Infinity Ward and some people from Raven or Sledgehammer. Absolutely no idea. But let me know in the comments what you're hoping for from Season 2 of MWZ, because now we've got some confirmation that new content is coming. What is it that you're hoping to see? And now for this video, let's turn our attention to maybe the more depressing news that's come out over the last week. And that is that Microsoft have laid off 1,900 staff. Now, these layoffs haven't just affected people in Activision. This has also affected, like, I know people from Bethesda have gone. Some of the community managers I've spoken to there have lost their jobs. I think there's people right across the different sort of set of Microsoft studios. And it really sucks that, you know, Microsoft spent an insanely huge amount of money purchasing Activision, and it was, you know, a very long fought thing. Bobby Kotick was just let go at the beginning of the year, kind of when this was official that the deal had gone through. I think he officially stopped working on the 1st of January or the 31st of December or something, and apparently was paid $144 million as kind of a goodbye gift. And bear in mind, this is a man who, you know, had widely been perceived to have failed. You know, he's led to an incredibly toxic culture of that community. People who worked for him really hated him. And then he was paid $144 million to leave, to quit. And then not even a month later, 1,900 people have lost their jobs through absolutely no fault of their own. Now, this is really gutting. Like, obviously I didn't know all of the people who were affected by this, but some of the people who I do know who were affected by it were so passionate about the game and interacting with the community. They were exactly the sort of people you would hope were working on Warzone. So like Matt at High Moon Studios, who's sometimes in the streams and used to come in when we were doing the Easter eggs and stuff like that on things like Fortune's Keep. He was absolutely awesome and obviously enjoyed the game a huge amount. And it's a real shame to see him going. Austin from Raven, who was doing communications for Warzone between Raven and the community, always advocating for the community, came over and found me at COD Next, which was really cool. Like, you know, in a big crowded room, he'd come over to me because he'd been in the streams with the official Raven account sometimes, again, when we've been doing Easter eggs and things like that. It was awesome that kind of he knew who I was and he'd remembered me and stuff. Just really kind of made my day. That was such an exciting thing for me. And then see people like him being laid off. And because of the nature of these layoffs, these aren't people who are now going to be replaced. They're not sort of being kicked out because they did a bad job or something like that. They're just being downsized. Like, their departments are being downsized, their teams are being cut, and that means that these people aren't going to be replaced. So when you've had all of the communication from Raven, and whether or not you think there's been enough communication from Raven over the last few years, it's now going to be less. Like, there is going to be less communication. There's going to be less people who understand the community, understand the people in the community, less people who kind of know how to explain things and have learned from all of that experience over the last few years. Things are going to change, and they're going to change for the worse. Like, there's no way you could see this as a good thing. So what does this mean for Warzone going on? Well, without knowing how many people on the different teams and what their jobs were, it's hard to tell. But at the very least, I would expect there to be a lot less communication. I'd expect less detailed and kind of fun blog posts that they put out at the beginning of every season and every big reloaded update. I would expect less detail in maybe the patch notes and less information going back the other way. Despite what I know a lot of people think, the developers do know what the community thinks of different things. And obviously they hear about it from people like us, content creators, and they hear about it from people replying in sort of Twitter threads and on Reddit. They hear about stuff that people are talking about in various Discords and on streams. They spend a huge amount of time trying to pay attention to kind of community sentiment about different things. Not once have I ever spoken to a Warzone developer, to any of the Raven developers who I've spoken to a few times. Not once have I ever spoken to them and they've been kind of unaware of something that I've been talking about or something that I've been interested in. I've been in a bunch of those creator calls that you see a lot of the other sites and a lot of the other content creators talking about and making content about. And whenever people are asking questions in them, they're never like, oh, I'd never heard that. Like, oh, I'd never seen that. They're always just like, oh yeah, we expected you to say that, blah, blah, blah. Like, they do have their finger on a pulse. And while that doesn't necessarily mean they agree with everyone or they definitely want to do everything that some people in the community want, or that they necessarily can do everything that some people in the community want, they at least understand how the community feels about different things. And they obviously have more information than we do because they have all of the data to back up stuff of kind of what normal people think, as well as all of the opinions of people online and the people that talk about it a lot on social media. Now that they've laid off a bunch of people in those teams, that's going to be reduced. They're going to have less information about what people think. They're going to have less staff who understand the community. They're going to have less staff who sort of go around looking at all of these different opinions, all of these different things that people have said, and then translate that for the developers and try and turn it into something useful, some sort of constructive criticism. And similarly, when we've seen people like animators going, that means that you're going to be getting less content. You know, people who are doing the development work on the games, a lot of those people are gone and they're not going to be replaced. So instead of it being something like, oh, okay, well, other people will just step up and do more, it just means less will get done, less will be able to get done. All of those people that are left are taking with them years of experience and ideas and sort of ingenuity that has been used in Call of Duty in the past. So whatever you think about the Call of Duty content, again, over the last few years, it's now going to be of worse quality. There's going to be less new content coming, and that absolutely sucks. I saw a lot of the people that were laid off were involved in kind of cinematics and things like that across Activision, you know, not just in Call of Duty, but also in things like World of Warcraft and Diablo, where the cinematics have always been seen as like top notch. Like, that's one of the things that Blizzard have managed to maintain their reputation for, is that all of their cinematics are absolutely amazing. And in Call of Duty, I don't like the Call of Duty campaigns. I don't think they've been good for a while. But the cinematics are always absolutely stunning. Even the ones that we used to get just for like the beginning of seasons and things like that were always really impressive. We had some really cool ones for Zombies, but now they've fired a bunch of the staff that were making them and aren't replacing them. When some companies announce layoffs, you kind of understand it. You know, they've had a run of kind of bad luck. Maybe they've had some games that haven't done so well. Maybe kind of the entire market has shifted away from the genre and made something less popular than it used to be. It's hard to think that way about Call of Duty. You know, Call of Duty is very clearly still making an insane amount of money. Microsoft, who now own Activision, are making an insane amount of money. You know, in the same posts where they were talking about how sad it was that they had to lay off all of these people to kind of streamline the business and whatever, they were also bragging about how, I think, isn't Microsoft one of like the second or third companies to ever get past the 3 trillion mark, and how that they've got 33 million Game Pass subscribers. You know, they're bragging about the insane amounts of money they're making while also ending people's careers, while also just telling people, hey, we know you moved across the country, or you even moved to a different country to come and work on these games that you love. We're cancelling the games, or we're just getting rid of your position. We don't need you anymore. Despite these people not having done anything wrong, and that absolutely sucks. I've been quite angry about it, even as like someone detached, you know, someone on the periphery just looking in, seeing things like Bobby Kotick being rewarded with an insane amount of money, like however much it is, $140 million, which someone worked out would have been enough to pay all of the people that got laid off an average of $75,000 if just Bobby Kotick's leaving bonus was split across them instead. Apparently Phil Spencer makes something like $10 million a year in his salary, but these people couldn't be afforded to be kept on. It just absolutely sucks. So now, in terms of what's next for Call of Duty, it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? That we're going into Season 2. Probably we'll find out a lot more about that next week. And of course, I'll do a video on the channel talking about that. But we're going into that with possibly a new development studio. Well, not a new development studio, but a different development studio working on Modern Warfare Zombies and taking over on that. We've got communications that are going to be coming from Raven with some of the people that previously did that no longer working for the company. And we don't really know in terms of content and stuff like that. We've just had maybe the worst seasonal update ever with Season 1 Reloaded, where there was so little content specifically for Warzone. Now we're going to go into Season 2. Is that going to happen again? Are they just cutting back on everything and we're just going to have to get used to much less content? I've got no idea. But let me know in the comments what you think about all of this. This was a bit of a ranty video, so also let me know in the comments if you like this kind of thing and you want to see more of it. And always don't forget to like and subscribe. And check out our sponsor, Holy. Link will be in the description below. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.
I'm on your side.
Moving.
I'm getting lit up.
Dude, these mines are so
He has a
annoying.
buyback flare.
Yep.
Use it, use it.
Yeah, got it.
I'll UAV for you.
Enemies just here on the corner.
Okay. Someone up on the...
Yeah.
Oh god. Is he on the truck? There's the duck. Duck's behind us. I'm moving.
Reacher thrown out.
Oh,
Yeah,
what?
duck here.
Well done.
Gene,
What?
watch out.
Here, this is the last one, the duck. He's broken
Yeah.
right now. Behind
He's
the barrel.
quacked.
He's quacked.
Don't rush him, don't rush
I
him.
know,
just
light it
let
up.
him. Well played.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Let's go.
GG.
Good game. We've defeated the ducks.